Hello and welcome to another D&D Stories. I'm your host, TheWriter. This is a show where I sit here and regale you with all the tabletop gaming stories and remember when something cool happens. We return once more to the adventures of Mattius the Prowler, now an assassin graduated into his prestige class in the city of Oceanrim. Now, the Thieves Guild, if you recall, sent him to kill the engineer, and he successfully did that. So I called that his prerequisite, because in order to become a prestige class of assassin, one of those prerequisites is that you have to kill somebody, if only just to kill them to become an assassin. There can't be another reason. So he did that. He got paid for it. You know, he stayed at one of his usual hangout inns and taverns and was living the high life for a while. Again, still kind of seeing Lilia on the side and, performing small robberies, albeit at bigger houses, so he could find, little jade statues and jewelry boxes and stuff to line his pockets with the monies of the wealthy, because picking up somebody on the street tends to wield 1d10 gold pieces, and that's not really worth his time anymore because he's level 8, level 10. It takes some skill points to be an assassin, and if I recall correctly, you get quite a few benefits for being an assassin. You can apply poison to your weapons, and it's not possible for you to screw it up and poison yourself. You also get an instant kill ability. If you can study your target for 5 or 6 rounds or 5 or 6 minutes, I don't remember what it was. Somebody will correct me in the comments below. Then you can shoot them in the back with an arrow, or do the back stab, and it's basically like a coup de grace. They just die instantly, no matter how much health they have, and there's very few targets that it doesn't work on. So it's the master of the stealth kill, the master of the one-shot death, the master of poison, plus all the rogue abilities he's already got. So he's raised into the higher echelons of sneakiness and his capacity for killing. And Mattius starts to wander down a darker road than I, as a DM, was prepared to draw on the map for him. We've seen him, lie, cheat, steal, rape, and do all these horrible things. It was at one point between games, I was like, Mattius, you realize you're basically a supervillain. You're a raving lunatic. You lie, you murder, you take on bounties from the Thieves Guild, you're stealing from innocent people, you tried to rape the engineer. You're chaotic evil. You're in the same alignment as the Joker from Batman. Just the way you act. It's no, I thought I was lawful evil. I have a certain code of ethics. I was you don't have any ethics, man. You've crossed pretty much every line there is to cross at least once. He's well, why didn't you warn me? And I say, I'm the voiceless narrator. I'm not this is an aside for me. I'm not the DM that will decide to be like when the paladin is doing something screwy, I don't lean over my screen and go, are you sure? I let him do that, and if he loses his powers, he loses his powers. The narrator doesn't jump into the middle of a movie and say, hey, are you sure you want to pick up your lightsaber and strike the Emperor down? That's not a very Jedi thing to do. Your temptation is unto yourself. And the same thing goes for you, Mattius. He was lawful evil for a while, but over time, you've broken all the rules. You've shown that you're willing to do whatever sounds like a good idea at the time, which is usually chaotic neutral, but you are decidedly evil. So, you're chaotic evil. And I'm not one to get into the alignment argument, because everybody knows that's a powder keg, depending on what table or what internet forum you're on. I actually had a video a long time ago that was called The Alignment Argument that I deleted because it had like 60,000 views and 500 comments of people calling me wrong because their interpretation of the alignments was different than mine. Well, yeah, no shit. You can't sit and philosophize about the idea of law versus chaos and good versus evil and come up with two people anywhere in the world that have the exact same idea. That's kind of the point. You can ask your DM when you're at their table what their interpretation of neutral or lawful good or whatever it happens to be, so that your paladin doesn't get in trouble at their table. But other than that, it's open to interpretation. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Mattius reaches, level 8, level 9, level 10. He's comfortably up in his assassin prestige. And he's living the high life at a nice inn. He's dating Lilia. And he's performed a few more, like, upper scale robberies. So he's got quite a bit of gold to his name, to the point where I think he started using a bank. And normally as a DM, I say that money takes up no space, because how weird would it be to raid a dragon's hoard and then you can't take it anywhere because you can't carry it all. It's like, well, there's 200,000 gold pieces in hammer space somewhere. It doesn't weigh anything. It just slows the game down. So Mattius is carrying around like 8,500 gold, which for a solo rogue or a solo assassin that's just picking like random castles and random places to rob, that ain't bad. So I don't know if he's saving up for a magic item or if he's just glad to have money to roll in or whatever it happens to be. But he's got quite a bit of money, all things considered, and he's decked himself out pretty well. So the Thieves Guild is, of course, pleased and pays him for the kill that he made on the engineer, and they can kind of breathe easy for a while until something else comes up. And the lady with the crimson cloak comes to see him again to give him another mission from the Thieves Guild, and he says, "What is it now?" And she says that Mattius needs to stop a wedding. And he goes, "Stop a wedding?" And he goes, "Yes, there are two houses coming together, House Huckrelay," and he goes, "Oh shit," and House Farengar, which is an elven home, or an elven house. Their crest is from the elven lands. And he goes, "They both live right here in Oceanrim, at least these particular branches of these families. And a young woman from House Huckrelay is marrying a young man from House Farengar, and this wedding cannot take place." And he goes, "Well, what's wrong with it?" I said, "Well, House Farengar is an elven family, so of course they have lots and lots of children over the many decades, because elves age very slowly. So there are lots and lots of sons, and all of them have very strong senses of justice. They're pumping out a lot of paladins in this particular mansion. A lot of guard captains, a lot of wall watchers that make sure boats that come in heavy have their paperwork and all that good stuff. They're very uptight and lawful good, almost lawful stupid, like they're flirting with that line." And he goes, "Okay, what's wrong with that?" "Well, if House Farengar gets a hold of House Huckrelay's dowry, it's been like whispered around that they're going to spend that dowry on gear for the city guard, like night vision goggles, and I forgot what those are actually called. They're like eyes of the sun or something like that. It lets you see in the dark, or like cloaks of leaping, so they can jump from rooftop to rooftop. Suddenly every guard is going to be like freaking Batman, and it's going to make life hard for the Thieves Guild." And he goes, "That seems to happen a lot." And he goes, "Yes, it's as though Oceanrim is in some sort of upheaval, and all these different factions are trying to arm themselves or prepare for some sort of greater catastrophe. And all of them are aiming for like the city guard or for like public defense, like en masse, to upgrade the city's defenses. And Oceanrim is an amalgamation. It's a melting pot of all these people that have money that are trading resources and ships and people and families from all over, etc., etc. But for some reason, there is an unease in the streets, and they think they need to like arm the police or the city guard with better toys, with better gear, with better stuff to protect the public. And he goes, that's strange, just like en masse, all these different factions, and they talk for a while that, for some reason they're trying to outfit the city guard, they're trying to strengthen the walls, they're trying to keep a closer eye on the ships that come in. It's like they're expecting some sort of event to transpire, even though nobody can really explain it. It's like when a deer stops in the woods and listens, even though there's nothing to hear. It's a mild panic that seems to come from the very depths of their subconsciousness, and nobody can explain it. But that's okay, Mattius. All we have to do is make sure that these two houses do not come together with this marriage, and this dowry will not change hands, and that money will not go to the city guard to outfit them with all kinds of crazy gadgets and magic items. And he goes, well, okay. And she says, we don't care if you kill one of them or both of them, or, kill the preacher that's going to marry them, or, burn both of their houses to the ground. We don't care. You just got to make sure this wedding doesn't happen. And he goes, okay, well, how long do I have? The wedding is in a month. He's like, oh, 4 weeks. That's a long time to plan and move about. And she goes, yes. They're already in the pre-planning stages. They're writing out their guest lists and getting the dress ready and all that good stuff. And it's going to be a pretty big deal. It's going to be at this such and such cathedral with all these fancy stained glass windows. There's going to be hundreds of people there from both of these houses. So it's going to be a monster event. It cannot happen, Mattius. And he goes, I understand. It wouldn't be much good to be dressed in black and skulking in shadows, like myself, if all the guards can see in the dark, starting a month from now. And he goes, exactly. So life will be hard for us if you fail. So go forth and make sure this wedding doesn't happen. And so she goes, I will leave the details to you, Mattius, as you seem to think better on the fly and think better for yourself. You have come this far on your own wit, so good luck. And she gives him some starting funds, I think it was 700 gold or something, to buy supplies, caltrops, smoke sticks, alchemist fire, any kind of tools he might want for this particular mission. And she steps off. And she goes, do not fail, or things will get bad for all of us here at the Thieves Guild, and the Red Lady will be displeased. And he goes, the Red Lady, who is that? And the Red Lady, over time, I haven't mentioned her, I don't think, up until now. The Red Lady was the sort of leader of the Thieves Guild, but, a guild of thieves has no hierarchy. It has no governance unto itself. But the Red Lady was the mouthpiece, the talking head. If several factions were meeting and for some reason the Thieves Guild was involved, she would act as the face and the talking voice or whatever like that. So an underling like Mattius would see her as the boss, the mob boss, the head of the crime family or whatever you want to talk about that. But she was a figurehead. And if the Red Lady is displeased with you, she can just as easily pass your name around because she's the talking head of the faction. So Mattius knew better than to get on this woman's downside, even though he's never seen or interacted with her. So she's kind of in the shadows. And the lady with the crimson cloak heads off into darkness, leaving Mattius there in the alleyway where they usually meet. And he goes, okay, I've got a month to stop a wedding. How am I going to do this? And he kind of leans against this stone wall and he thinks for a while. And the first words out of his mouth, I swear to you, as an assassin, is, well, I shouldn't kill either of them. And I go, what? I go, you're a 10th, you're an 8th level rogue, or a 7th level rogue and a 3rd level assassin, or whatever it happened to be, and you don't want to kill either of these people? And I go, this is why you're chaotic evil. Like, you just come up with shit whenever you want. He immediately decides he doesn't want to kill either one of them. And I go, why? And she goes, well, they're innocent people. And I go, that has never stopped you. Never stopped you until now. And he goes, eh. So you can kind of see, like, Mattius as a character was starting to kind of unravel. But he's done all the evil things that he can, so now he grows a backbone and decides he doesn't want to kill these people. I mean, even if you killed the bride, that would end the wedding. Maybe if you killed the groom, there's a bunch more sons in House Farengar. They might still make that wedding happen. I don't know. It's the medieval tradition of marrying for convenience and money. But, if he killed the bride, the wedding would be over. The wedding would not happen, and he immediately decides, no, I'm not going to do it. I go, well, how are you going to stop this wedding? You going to kidnap somebody? And he goes, I'm going to go back into House Huckrelay. And I go, whoa, okay, that's ballsy. You remember, going to steal the golden seal from there, right? And he goes, yeah, but that's been like weeks and weeks, and nobody saw me except for like the head butler for a few seconds, and then that other rogue lady, but no doubt she's rotting in a dungeon somewhere. And I was like, okay, what are you gonna do at House Huckrelay? And he says, I'm going to go in as a servant and see what I can find out. So this assassin dresses down into like his burlap breeches and like street clothes and leaves all of his stuff and his magic items behind at the tavern and decides he's gonna like go in incognito. And I say, you're gonna go and like ask for work at this place? And he goes, yeah, I'll get a job at like the stables or something, something outside where the head butler won't see me, in case for some reason he remembers what I look like after all these weeks and months. And I go, okay, you can go in and just like get a job like shoveling cow flop and stuff like that. And of course, he goes in, this is an easy job to get, and he gets like a couple of silver pieces a day, and he kind of worms his way in amongst the help, amongst the servants, because who do you talk to when you want to know all the dirty little secrets about noble families? Well, you talk to the chefs, you talk to the maids, you talk to the butlers and the stable boys to find out exactly what's going on behind closed doors. So he befriends, a couple of cooks. He befriends one of the stable boys. He makes allies with a bunch of these people. And of course they talk. And rumor has it that the young lady Huckrelay is in love with one of the stable boys that is in her family's employ. And Mattius goes, really? And he goes, is it so-and-so? We'll just call him like Ben. And she goes, the lady Huckrelay is in love with Ben? And they say, yes, it's apparent it's been quite the scandal. If even one of the servants told Master Huckrelay or Lady Huckrelay about it, it would just be all over the place. But, they're too busy with their own midnight trysts. So, marital loyalty is not something that's really big in this family. But the young lady Huckrelay is not married yet. So, it's not really clear if she really knows her groom to be that well, or if, again, this is going to be like a marriage of convenience. But she's hanging out with one of the stable boys, like in the middle of the night, tending to the horses and stuff like that. And they've been spotted smooching by moonlight or by firelight at one of the stables by one of the groundskeepers. So this is a thing that's going on. And Mattius kind of strokes his chin for a while, and he goes, I'm going to go talk to Ben and see what happens. And I go, okay, you find him like brushing down one of the horses. It's like the middle of the afternoon. Mattius was probably trained in by Ben. This is the cart for the cow flop. We need hay 3 times a day and make sure they get their cornmeal and all that good stuff to take care of the horses. And he goes in and he's like, hey Ben, rumor and scuttlebutt says you and the Lady Huckrelay that's about to get married. And he goes, who told you about that? And I go, I hear things. I'm the new guy, but, servants love nothing more than to gossip about their masters. So, and he kind of sidles in really close. So, what's all this about? You guys are hooking up every couple of weeks, or are you sleeping together? And he goes, no, it's not like that. We are genuinely in love, but separated by class. And he tells him this like Romeo and Juliet story that they fell in love over their love of horses, and he's got big strong hands, and she's got the dainty little ankles and such things like that, trying to help her up onto these giant animals so she can ride side saddle and all these cute little things that they had discovered over a number of years. So this is not a new thing that has been happening, but they have grown closer than friends and closer than like master and servant. So Mattius kind of scratches his chin some more and he goes, well, why not take off with her? She's clearly being kind of forced into this marriage. Why don't you like grab her and a couple of horses and take off into the night, elope. And he goes, oh, I could never do that. The Lady Huckrelay is used to all this finery, and I am but a stable boy. I have no money to take care of her or to buy any land. If I stole her away, we would be starving within a couple of weeks. And Mattius thinks, and he goes, well, gosh, if you got some land and like started a little farm or something, you'd be okay, right? And he goes, of course. My uncle was a farmer, and one of my cousins is a farmer and things like that, but I have no land. I have no money to my name. I make ends meet under the flag of House Huckrelay. And he thinks for a while longer, and he goes, well, how much gold do you think it would take for you to take off? And I'm not thinking along the same lines that Mattius was, and I offhandedly say, oh, well, for horses and for land and for materials for a small cottage, it would be like 1,000 gold pieces. I've never seen that much money. And then I catch myself and I go, oh, that's what you're doing. And Mattius goes, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And he goes, I can give him 1,000 gold pieces and not sneeze, because at the time, like I said, he's got like 8,500 gold. And this stable boy has never seen 4 digits worth of gold pieces all in one place. And Mattius goes, I've got 1,000 gold pieces. Why don't you guys take off? And he from Hammer Space, where all the money is kept, he pulls this sack of gold pieces and like puts it up on his chest and makes him take it. And he goes, you take this money and you take her and you take off. And he goes, Mattius, I've never seen this much money. And he's just like he's falling all over himself that this random stranger who started working there like 2 weeks ago hands him 1,000 gold pieces. Is like, why are you even working here? And he goes, don't you worry about that. You worry about her. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Ha ha ha, we work in a stable. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You saddle up some horses and you get some supplies and you take off in, true love, right? True love. Off into the sunset, and he uses diplomacy and kind of spins this romantic tale to kind of wind Ben up and then watch him march forward like a little tin soldier, thinking that he's the white knight to save this woman from an arranged marriage with their own true love over horses and riding and things like that they will start a farm or something elsewhere, far beyond the reaches of Oceanrim, where they will change their names and cut their hair and all that stuff so they can't be recognized. And that is basically what happens. So over the course of the next few days, Ben goes missing, as does the young Lady Huckrelay. And of course, the servants are all at Twitter. Oh, they finally did it after 2.5, 3 years. They have eloped away, and the whole wedding fiasco falls apart immediately because nobody can find her. Nobody can find the stable boy, and like 2 or 3 horses are missing. So they know exactly what happened. And Mattius quits working there like the next day, and that's where I caught him finally. And I go, Mattius, Ben and the young lady Huckrelay took off at the same time that you quit. That's going to be really suspicious. And Mattius goes, oh, crap, that's right. I should have stayed for like another week or something, or up through when the wedding was. And I go, no, you took off like 24 hours later. They're going to be looking for you. And you've been there for a couple of weeks now, so they know your face, they know your name, they know your mannerisms. They know where you hang out in town and all that kind of stuff. They know what inn you were staying at. He's like, shit, I have to go get all my stuff and get out. And he goes, Mattius, I don't think you understand. House Huckrelay knows who you are. They have connected you with the disappearance of their daughter 2 weeks before her wedding to another powerful noble house. Their stable boy has disappeared with her, and you disappeared at the same time. They're going to come looking. In fact, there's going to be some, like, palm greasing and some guards that are going to be on the lookout for you. There's going to be drawings and wanted posters. You're kind of fucked. And he goes, I got to get out of town. Mattius very suddenly realizes that his stay in Oceanrim is coming to a close because a major noble house wants him now. And he's like, this is no different than where I came from before I arrived in Oceanrim. I've become too well known. I need to move on. I need to get out of Dodge. So Mattius, dresses up in all of his stuff and throws a cloak and a hood over himself, and he buys a horse this time so he can get out of Dodge a little faster than on foot or on a farmer's cart. And he flees from Oceanrim, never to return. And that was kind of where Mattius's storyline comes to a close. Now, I wanted to kind of like write Mattius out of the Oceanrim campaign because, again, he was going down paths a bit too dark for me to draw maps for at this point. Like I said, murder, thievery, rape, lying, cheating, stealing, doing, killing people for money, etc., etc. There's a limit to where I will go as a GM. And Mattius was going down the dark side. So he oh, I almost forgot. He took Lilia with him. I forgot all about her. He basically showed her how deep his pockets were and said that he was moving on to do another more fulfilling job, and said, hey, I've got 7,500 gold pieces, and we've been together for several months now. Wouldn't you like to do something beyond being a head cook at a tavern somewhere? I will take good care of you and stuff like that. So he promises her adventure and romance and etc., etc. Come with me. I can show you the world and stuff like that. And he rolls his really high diplomacy check, and she doesn't have a lot of family there in Oceanrim. They're just kind of scattered about. So Mattius, pulls Lilia up onto his horse and gets her a cloak too so they can ride together, and they ride off into the sunset. So Lilia was never quite aware what a monster Mattius was, though that would make an interesting epilogue or further chapter where she realizes that he's a murdering, backstabbing assassin. He broke off all ties with the Thieves Guild because how would they know where he went or when he went or why? The wedding did not occur, so he succeeded in his mission. He just never collected the reward, whatever it was gonna be, probably money. But he vanished off the radar, off the map, and out of the campaign. So Oceanrim kind of ended there for Mattius. And like I said, I wanted this to be like an Avengers Assemble sort of thing, where everybody would get their own storyline, and then later on they would all converge and come together. But Mattius, not so much. He was kind of my failed experiment after a while. He was a brand new player. He went down the darkest of dark paths. Made it to level 10 as an assassin prestige. He did fairly well, but I didn't imagine he would play well with others with a character like this. And eventually scheduling differences came up and all kinds of stuff like that, and he just kind of moved on. So he played by himself, he played solo, he did pretty well, and that was just kind of it. So we kind of established what Oceanrim was, and all the factions that were moving around in it: House Hukrele, House Farengar, the Thieves Guild, the Mages Academy, all the inns and taverns, the lizard folk with their strange liquid metal staff that would change sizes depending on who was wielding it. And the idea that on some subconscious level, Oceanrim is preparing itself for a catastrophe. Like not like a hurricane or an invading army or something, but a bunch of people in like positions of power have a bad feeling that something's about to go down. It's like some lingering nightmare that they just can't quite shake off. Like they're getting ready to sneeze, and the sneeze just isn't coming. It's nerve-wracking. So, I guess we will call it there for now. Mattius and Lilia rode off into the sunset, and we will join a different character, also in the Oceanrim series, who had quite a bit more staying power, whom I'm sure you guys will love. And we will move forward from there. So I guess we'll call this like Act 1 of Oceanrim or something like that. Was, the scoundrel. It's all about Mattius. We're going to move on next time to the Prince. So, I will see you guys on the next D&D Stories. Keep gaming.
Hi guys, T here. Remember to hit that like button for me on your way out. If you'd like to see artwork and maps from my gaming table, check out the D&D Stories Facebook page. Also, I have a Patreon if you'd like to toss a few gold pieces into your humble bard's hat. Links in the description below. Keep gaming!